The house was alive with music, laughter, and the warm glow of string lights I'd spent hours hanging that afternoon. It was my 35th birthday, and Sarah had insisted on throwing me a party. "You deserve this," she'd said, kissing my cheek that morning. "You work so hard, never complain, never ask for anything. Tonight is all about you." Looking around our living room, transformed into a celebration space, I felt genuinely grateful. Friends from work mingled with old college buddies. My brother had driven 3 hours to be here. The dining table groaned under the weight of food Sarah had prepared. Her famous lasagna, garlic bread, 3 different salads, and a chocolate cake from the bakery downtown that I'd been eyeing for months. Sarah looked beautiful tonight. She wore that emerald dress I loved, the one that made her eyes sparkle like green fire. Her auburn hair cascaded over her bare shoulders, and she moved through the crowd with practiced grace, refilling drinks, introducing people, playing the perfect hostess. We'd been married for 8 years, together for 12, and I still got that flutter in my chest when I looked at her. "Happy birthday, man." Jake clapped me on the shoulder, nearly making me spill my beer. Jake, my best friend since high school, the guy who'd been my best man, who'd helped me move into 3 different apartments before Sarah and I bought this house. 35. "We're getting old." "Speak for yourself," I laughed. I've never felt better, and I meant it. Life was good. My job as a project manager was stable and well-paying. Sarah's graphic design business was finally taking off. We'd just paid off her student loans. We were talking about starting a family next year. Everything was falling into place. "Speech, speech!" Someone called out, and suddenly everyone was looking at me, glasses raised. I held up my hands, grinning. All right. I just want to thank everyone for coming. It means the world to have you all here. Special thanks to my amazing wife, Sarah, for putting this together. Honey, you're incredible." The room erupted in applause. Sarah beamed at me from across the room, her cheeks flushed with pleasure. Or was it wine? She'd been drinking steadily since the party started, I'd noticed. More than usual. The evening flowed like honey. We played charades. We told embarrassing stories. My brother roasted me with a slideshow of awkward childhood photos. Around 10 o'clock, someone suggested moving the party to the backyard where we'd set up a fire pit. The night was perfect for it. Cool but not cold, with a sky full of stars. I was in the kitchen grabbing more beer from the fridge when I heard Sarah's laugh ring out from the living room. That particular laugh, higher than her normal one, slightly forced. The laugh she used when she was nervous or trying too hard to seem casual. Curious, I grabbed the beer and headed back, weaving through the thinning crowd. Most people had migrated outside, but through the doorway I could see the living room wasn't quite empty. Sarah stood near the window, partially obscured by the curtain, and Jake was with her. They were close, closer than necessary. They were talking in low voices, and Sarah was giggling, touching his arm in that flirtatious way that used to be reserved for me. I felt a small twist in my gut, but pushed it aside. They were friends. They'd known each other almost as long as Jake and I had. It was nothing. I was about to call out to them when Sarah stumbled slightly, those heels combined with the wine, and Jake reached out to steady her. His hand caught her waist. A completely innocent gesture, except his hand didn't leave her waist, and Sarah didn't step away. I stood there, frozen in the kitchen doorway, beer bottles growing warm in my hands, watching as my best friend's hand slid slowly, deliberately lower, down from her waist, past her hip, and then unmistakably beneath the hem of her emerald dress. Time seemed to stop. The laughter from outside faded to white noise. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. Sarah's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. She glanced around nervously instead, checking to see if anyone was watching. Our eyes met. For one frozen moment, we stared at each other across the room. Her face went pale. Jake, following her gaze, saw me, and his hand jerked away from her like he'd been burned. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then someone outside called my name. "Hey, birthday boy. We need you for the fire." And the spell broke. I set the beer bottles down carefully on the counter, my hands surprisingly steady. I walked past the living room without looking at either of them, grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door, and stepped outside into the cool night air. There he is. My brother threw an arm around my shoulders. "Come on, make a wish before we light this thing." I smiled. I made a wish. I lit the fire, and I began planning my exit. The fire crackled and danced, casting flickering shadows across the faces of my guests. I stood there, beer in hand, participating in conversations I wouldn't remember 5 minutes later. My mind was elsewhere, running through what I'd seen, analyzing it, dissecting it, trying to make it into something other than what it obviously was. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe the angle was wrong. Maybe no, I knew what I saw. Jake's hand had gone under my wife's dress. At my birthday party.
In my house.
And Sarah hadn't stopped him. That moment of eye contact would be burned into my brain forever. Not shame in her eyes, but fear of being caught. You okay, man? My brother Tom peered at me with concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. Fine, I said automatically. Just tired. It's been a long week. Tom didn't look convinced, but he let it go. He started telling a story about his kids, and I nodded in the right places, laughed when expected. On autopilot. Through the glass door I could see into the house. Sarah had emerged from the living room and was in the kitchen now, rearranging snacks that didn't need rearranging. She kept glancing toward the backyard. Looking for me. Trying to gauge if I'd make a scene. Jake appeared beside her. They exchanged a few quick words. Sarah shook her head firmly at something he said. He touched her arm. A brief, familiar gesture that I'd seen 100 times before and never thought twice about. How long had this been going on? How blind had I been? I'm going to grab the cake, Sarah called out from the doorway, her voice bright but brittle. Time for the birthday boy to make a wish. Everyone cheered. I arranged my face into something resembling happiness and followed the crowd back inside. The chocolate cake sat on the dining table, covered in candles, 35 of them, plus one for good luck, Sarah always said. The lights dimmed. Everyone gathered around, phones out to capture the moment. Sarah stood directly across from me, Jake slightly to her left. They weren't standing together, I noted. They'd been careful to position themselves on opposite sides of the table. The singing started. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. I watched Sarah's face as she sang. She was smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her mouth. Guilt, worry? Or just too much wine? Jake wasn't singing. He held his beer, not drinking, just holding it. His eyes darted between Sarah and me, calculating, worried. Good, he should be worried. Make a wish, someone called out as the song ended. I looked at the candles, at the sea of expectant faces, at my wife who'd promised to love me, forsaking all others, at my best friend who'd stood beside me on my wedding day and sworn to support us both. I closed my eyes and made my wish. Let me get through tonight without breaking. Let me hold it together until they're all gone. I blew out the candles in one breath. Everyone applauded. Sarah began cutting the cake, and I found myself studying her hands. Hands that had held mine during our vows, that had stroked my face during intimate moments, that had been in Jake's car, in Jake's apartment under Jake's touch. How many times? First piece for the birthday boy. Sarah handed me a plate with an enormous slice. Her smile was too wide, too desperate. You love this cake. Thanks. I took the plate. Our fingers didn't touch. The party continued. Cake was eaten, jokes were told. Someone spilled red wine on the carpet and Sarah barely reacted. She who was normally so particular about the house. She was distracted, I realized. Watching me, watching Jake, trying to keep us separated. Around midnight, guests started leaving. Hugs and handshakes, promises to get together soon, thanks for a great time. I played my role perfectly. Gracious host, grateful friend, happy husband. Not a crack in the facade. Tom was one of the last to leave. You sure you're okay? He asked at the door, pulling me into a hug. You seem off. Just exhausted, I assured him. You know how it is. If you need anything at all, you call me, okay? Okay. I watched him walk to his car, and for a moment I wanted to run after him, to tell him everything, to ask him what I should do. But I didn't. This was something I needed to handle myself. Jake hung back, helping Sarah collect empty bottles and plates. Of course he did. Always the helpful friend. Great party, he said when he couldn't avoid me any longer. He looked me straight in the eye when he said it. A challenge or an attempt at normalcy? Really great, man. Hope you had a good time. The best, I replied, my voice flat. Really memorable. The kind of night you never forget. Something flickered in his expression. Understanding? Fear? He cleared his throat. Well, I should get going. Let you guys clean up and crash. Yeah, you should go, I agreed. Wouldn't want to overstay your welcome. Sarah appeared then, slightly frantic. Jake's been so helpful. I don't know what I would have done without him helping set everything up earlier. Earlier? I asked. I thought you set up this afternoon. I was at work. Right, yes, afternoon. She stumbled over her words. Jake came by around 3 to help hang the lights and move furniture. You know, the heavy stuff. I hadn't known Jake was here this afternoon. She hadn't mentioned it. How convenient. Anyway, Jake said loudly, backing toward the door, I'm out. Happy birthday again, buddy. He left quickly, and I watched through the window as he practically jogged to his car. He sat in the driver's seat for a long moment before starting the engine, his head in his hands. That was fun, Sarah said behind me, her voice shrill with forced cheer. I think everyone had a great time. The cake was a hit, and I'm going to bed, I interrupted. It's been a long day. Oh, okay. I'll just finish cleaning and be up in a minute. I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, each step feeling like it took enormous effort. Behind me, I heard Sarah moving through the house, the clink of bottles, the rush of water in the sink. The sounds of normal life, continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed, and by morning, both of them would know exactly how much. I didn't sleep. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to Sarah eventually climb the stairs. She paused outside the bedroom door. I heard her soft breathing, could almost feel her debating whether to come in or sleep in the guest room. The door opened. She slipped into bed beside me, keeping to her side, not touching. Did you have a good birthday? She whispered. I didn't answer. Eventually, her breathing deepened and slowed. She slept. I stared at the ceiling and planned. Dawn crept through the curtains, pale and cold. I'd been awake all night, watching the ceiling transform from black to gray to the soft blue of early morning. Beside me, Sarah slept, one arm thrown above her head, her face peaceful in a way that made my chest ache. 8 years of marriage, 12 years together, and it had all ended last night in the space between one heartbeat and the next, with a single betrayal I couldn't unsee. I slipped out of bed at 6, careful not to wake her. The house was a disaster. Empty bottles on every surface, cake crumbs ground into the carpet, the lingering smell of too many people in too small a space. Evidence of celebration. Evidence of the last good day I'd have in this house. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. The practical side of my brain, the project manager side that broke complex problems into manageable tasks, kicked into gear. It was easier to focus on logistics than emotions. First, I opened our bank accounts. We had separate checking accounts but a shared savings, $47,000 earmarked for the down payment on a bigger house when we started having kids. I transferred exactly half into my checking account. Not petty, not vengeful, just fair. Next, I drafted an email to my boss requesting to use the 2 weeks of vacation time I'd been hoarding. Family emergency, I wrote. Need to be away from the office. Can work remotely if necessary. I'd been with the company for 7 years. Never missed a deadline, barely used sick days. They'd approve it without question. I looked through our credit card statements then, something I hadn't done in months. Sarah handled most of the bills. I trusted her. Past tense trusted, there in March, a charge at the Riverside Inn 3 towns over. $247 in April. Dinner at Cesare's, the expensive Italian place downtown. $150. I'd been at a conference in Denver that night. In May, another hotel. Different town. $198 June, July, August. A pattern emerged like a dark constellation. Hotels, restaurants, once a wine tasting tour. The charges were always on a Saturday afternoon or a weekday evening when I worked late. They'd been careful, I'd give them that. Never obvious. Never extravagant enough to raise flags. I added up the total. Over 6 months, they'd spent nearly $3,000 of our money on their affair. The rage that had been simmering all night flared hot and sharp. I wanted to storm upstairs to shake Sarah awake to demand explanations. I wanted to drive to Jake's apartment and no. I took a deep breath, then another. Anger was useless. Anger made you sloppy, made you do things you'd regret. I'd learned that from my father, watched him throw away his dignity in screaming matches with my mother before their divorce. I wouldn't be him. Instead, I made a plan. By 7:30, I'd found a furnished apartment across town. Month-to-month lease available immediately. Affordable on my salary alone. I filled out the application. By 8, I'd contacted a lawyer, the one Tom had used for his divorce. Left a voicemail requesting a consultation. By 8:30, I'd updated my direct deposit at work to go only to my individual account. By 9, I'd started a load of laundry, my clothes, not Sarah's. I pulled my suitcases from the garage. Sarah appeared in the doorway at 9:15, wrapped in her bathrobe, squinting against the morning light. "You're up early. I thought you'd sleep in after last night." "Couldn't sleep," I said, folding a shirt into the suitcase open on our bed. She froze. "What are you doing?" "Packing." "I can see that. Why?" I looked at her then, really looked at her. She'd washed off her makeup and I could see the faint lines around her eyes, the small scar on her chin from when she'd fallen off her bike in high school. I knew every inch of this face. I thought I knew every corner of her heart. "How long?" I asked, the color drained from her face. "What? How long have you been sleeping with Jake?" She grabbed the doorframe. We're not. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "Explain to me what I saw last night." "His hand under your dress, Sarah. At my birthday party." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "It was a mistake. We'd been drinking and it was nothing." "It didn't mean anything. How long?" I repeated. She was silent. "I checked the credit card statements," I said quietly. "Hotels, restaurants, 6 months, Sarah. At least 6 months." She crumpled, sliding down the doorframe until she was sitting on the floor, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It just happened. We didn't plan it. After the Christmas party at your office, we were talking and he drove me home and—" "Stop." I held up my hand. "I don't want the details. I just want you to know that I know, and I'm leaving." "No." She scrambled to her feet, reaching for me. "Please, we can fix this. It's over with Jake. I'll end it. We can go to counseling. Please don't leave. I love you." The words that once would have filled me with joy now just sounded hollow. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this, and I do love you. Jake it was exciting and new and stupid. But you're my husband. You're my home. He's nothing compared to you. Does he know that?" She blinked. "What? Does Jake know he's nothing to you? That he was just exciting and new?" I zipped the suitcase closed. "You might want to tell him that. Save him some pain. Where are you going? Does it matter?" "Of course it matters. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." I carried the suitcase past her, down the stairs. She followed, still crying, pleading. "What about the house? What about our life? You can't throw away 12 years because of one mistake." I set the suitcase by the door and turned to face her. "One mistake? You've been cheating on me for at least 6 months, Sarah. 6 months of lies, 6 months of sneaking around, 6 months of sleeping with my best friend and then coming home to our bed. That's not one mistake. That's a choice you made over and over and over. I'll do anything," she sobbed. "Anything to fix this. Just tell me what you need. I need you to have been faithful." "Can you give me that?" She stared at me, tears streaming, and said nothing. "That's what I thought." I grabbed my keys from the hook. "My lawyer will be in touch about the house and the divorce." "Divorce?" The word came out as a gasp. "You're not serious. Please just take a few days to cool down. Don't make any permanent decisions when you're angry." "I'm not angry," I said, and realized it was true. The rage from this morning had burned itself out, leaving only a vast empty calm. "I'm done." "There's a difference." I picked up my suitcase and walked out the door. Behind me, Sarah called my name, her voice breaking. I didn't turn around. Jake's car was parked on the street 3 houses down. He was slumped in the driver's seat watching my house, watching to see what would happen. When he saw me with the suitcase, he got out of the car. "Hey man, can we talk?" I loaded the suitcase into my car. "Nothing to talk about." "Look, I know you're pissed, but I'm not pissed, Jake." I closed the trunk. "I'm just done. With both of you. It wasn't like we didn't mean for it to happen. It just got out of hand," I finished. "Yeah, I've heard that one already this morning." I opened the driver's door. "You two deserve each other, really. I hope you're very happy together." "We're not together," he said quickly. "It was just fooling around. It didn't mean anything." "Interesting." Sarah said the same thing. "Guess you're on the same page about that at least." I got in the car. Jake stood on the sidewalk looking lost and small. For just a moment I almost felt sorry for him. Almost I drove away without looking back. In my rearview mirror I could see Sarah standing in the doorway in her bathrobe and Jake walking slowly toward her. They stood several feet apart, not touching, looking at each other like strangers. Let them figure it out. It wasn't my problem anymore. The furnished apartment was exactly what I needed. Small, clean, impersonal. A place to exist without memories attached to every corner. I unpacked my single suitcase, hung my clothes in the narrow closet, and sat on the generic beige couch staring at blank walls. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since I left the house. Texts from Sarah, calls from Jake, a worried message from Tom asking if everything was okay. I turned it off and sat in the silence. That first day was the hardest. Without distraction, my mind kept circling back, replaying everything. Not just last night, but years of moments I was now seeing through a different lens. Late nights when Sarah said she was working on a big design project. Weekends when Jake suddenly canceled plans with me. The way they'd started texting more frequently around Christmas. Signs I'd missed or chosen not to see. Around 6 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Tom. "I know you're in there," he called. "Your car's outside. Let me in or I'm calling every hospital in the city because I know something's wrong." I opened the door. Tom took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. What happened? Over beer and pizza he'd brought, I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. "I'm going to kill him," he said when I finished. "I'm serious. Jake's a dead man. Not worth it. Prison food's terrible. This isn't funny. He betrayed you. She betrayed you. You have every right to be furious. I was furious. Now I'm just empty." I picked at the pizza crust. The worst part isn't even what they did. It's that they thought so little of me they did it in my own house at my own birthday party. Like I was too stupid or too blind to notice. You're not stupid. You trusted them. That's different, is it? Tom was quiet for a moment. Sarah's been calling Mom. Did you know that? No. She's desperate to talk to you. Says she'll do anything to fix this. There's nothing to fix. It's over. Are you sure? I mean, 12 years is a long time to throw away. I looked at my brother. Would you have taken Mary back? After what she did? Tom's ex-wife had cheated on him with a coworker. The divorce had been brutal. He considered the question, then shook his head. No, I wouldn't have. Once that trust is gone. Exactly. Over the next week, I fell into a new routine. Work during the day. Thank God for the distraction of deadlines and meetings. Gym after work. Pushing my body until exhaustion made thinking difficult. Microwave dinners in the apartment. Sleep when it came. The lawyer, Richard Morrison, was efficient and sympathetic. Fortunately, you don't have kids and it sounds like your assets are relatively simple to divide. We can probably get this done in a few months, especially if she doesn't contest it. She won't, I said. She knows she doesn't have a leg to stand on. But Sarah wasn't making it easy in other ways. She'd left 47 voicemails in the first 3 days. When I blocked her number, she started emailing. When I filtered those to spam, she showed up at my office. Security called me down to the lobby. Sarah stood there looking terrible. Unwashed hair, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and one of my old college sweatshirts. People were staring. 5 minutes, I said. Outside. We stood in the parking lot and she lit into me immediately. You can't ignore me forever. We're still married. We still have a house together. We need to talk about logistics if nothing else. That's what lawyers are for. I don't want to talk to your lawyer. I want to talk to you. Her voice cracked. I miss you. The house is so empty without you. I can't sleep in our bed. Everything reminds me of you. Good. That's it? Just good? You don't feel anything. I feel a lot of things, Sarah. None of them are good and none of them are going to bring me back to you. It's been 8 days. 8 days and you're just over it, over us? I'm not over it. I'll probably never be over it. But I'm done trying to save something you destroyed. She wiped her eyes. What about Jake? What about him? Have you talked to him? No, have you? She looked away. Once the day you left. And? He said we needed to cool it. Give you space. Let things settle down, I laughed bitterly. Let things settle down. Like you broke a vase, not a marriage. He wanted to know if I thought we'd work it out. If you'd forgive me. What did you tell him? I said yes. I said you love me and we'd get through this. And what did he say to that? Sarah's face crumpled. He said maybe it was better if we didn't see each other for a while. That he needed to think about things. Understanding dawned. He's pulling away from you. No. He's just being respectful of your feelings. Giving you space. Sarah, he's backing off because the fun part is over. The sneaking around, the forbidden thrill, that's done. Now it's just messy and complicated and real. And Jake doesn't do messy and complicated. You don't know that. I've known Jake for 20 years. Trust me, I know. She grabbed my arm. If we can't fix things, if you really want a divorce, then can we at least be civil? Can we try to divide things fairly and not make this ugly? I've never wanted to make it ugly. That was never my intention. Then why does it feel like you hate me? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned to spend my life with, to have children with, to grow old beside. I don't hate you, Sarah. I wish I did. Hate would be easier than this disappointment. She flinched like I'd hit her. Go home, I said gently. Sign the papers when they come. Move on with your life. I don't know how to do that without you. You seem to be managing fine for the last 6 months. I walked back into my office building, leaving her standing in the parking lot. That night, Jake finally broke his silence. A text at 11 p.m. We need to talk. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. No, we don't. Please, I need to explain. Explain what? That you slept with my wife? That you betrayed 20 years of friendship? I was there, I saw it. Nothing you say will change what you did. I never meant to hurt you, but you did. The meaning to part doesn't really matter now. There was a long pause, then. I'm sorry, I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry it exploded in your face. But you're not sorry you did it. If I hadn't seen you that night, you'd still be doing it. No response. Then minutes later. You're right, at least he was honest about that much. Don't contact me again, I typed. We're done. Whatever we were, it's over. What about Sarah? The question sat there on my screen. What about Sarah, indeed, that's between you and her. I'm out of it. She thinks we're going to be together. That once the dust settles, are you? Another long pause. I don't know. It's complicated, it's really not. Either you want to be with her or you don't. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It was just supposed to be fun. Well, it's not fun anymore, is it? She's calling me constantly. Showing up at my apartment. She says you won't talk to her, and she needs someone who understands. Despite everything, I felt a small, mean spark of satisfaction. Let them deal with the mess they'd made. Good luck with that, I sent, and then I blocked his number too. 3 weeks after I left, Sarah called from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Please don't hang up, she said immediately. I just need 5 minutes. That's all? 5 minutes. Jake broke up with me. Her voice was hollow, if you can even call it that. We were never really together, apparently. He said it was fun, but not sustainable. That he couldn't be in a real relationship with me because you'd always be there between us. The guilt, the betrayal, Her voice broke. He said he couldn't look at me without remembering what we'd done to you. I said nothing. You were right, she continued, about him pulling away. As soon as it wasn't exciting and forbidden anymore, he was done. He got what he wanted and moved on. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know that I realized, too late I know, but I realized what I threw away. Jake was nothing. He was a fantasy, a distraction from real life and real problems. But she was crying now. You were everything. You were stability and kindness and partnership. You were home. And I destroyed it for someone who couldn't even stick around for the aftermath. I'm sorry he hurt you, I said, and meant it. Somewhere beneath the betrayal and anger, there was still a part of me that cared about her pain. But that doesn't change anything between us. I know. I signed the divorce papers. My lawyer has them. I'm not going to contest anything. The house, the savings, whatever you want, it's yours. I don't want to punish you, Sarah. I just want it to be over. I spoke to your mom yesterday, she said. She wanted to check on me. Even after everything I did to you, she was kind to me. Do you know what she said? What? She said you'd been planning to propose to me. Back when we were dating, before you actually did it. You'd been saving for months and you'd picked out a ring, and you were so nervous about whether I'd say yes that you called her at midnight one night, panicking. She said she'd never heard you so scared or so happy as when you talked about spending your life with me. I closed my eyes, remembering that night. I'd been 23 years old, absolutely terrified and absolutely certain at the same time. She said she'd never seen anyone love someone the way you loved me. Total, uncomplicated, devoted love. Sarah's voice cracked. And I took that and I just threw it away. For something that wasn't even real. Sarah. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to take me back. I just need you to know that I understand now what I lost. Not the house, not the shared accounts, not the life we'd built. I lost you. The person who loved me more than anyone else ever could. And that's not something I can ever get back. We sat in silence for a moment. Finally, I said, I hope you find someone who deserves you, Sarah. Someone you won't feel the need to cheat on. Someone who makes you happy in a way that I apparently couldn't. It wasn't about you not being enough. I know. It was about you not being ready for what we had. And that's okay. We got married young, maybe too young. Maybe, she whispered. Take care of yourself, really. You too. She paused. I heard you're seeing someone. Tom's friend Rachel. I smiled despite myself. Tom had introduced us 2 weeks ago. Rachel was a teacher, funny and smart and completely uncomplicated. We'd been on 3 dates. It was too early to call it anything serious, but it felt light, easy, good. I am, I admitted. Good. That's good. You deserve to be happy. She meant it, I could tell. I'll always love you, you know. What we had, the good parts before I ruined it, that was real. I know it was. That's why this hurts so much. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment. It felt less temporary now, more like home, and thought about how much had changed in 3 weeks. The apartment had actual furniture now, not just the rental stuff. Groceries in the fridge, pictures on the walls, a life slowly taking shape. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Still on for dinner tomorrow? Absolutely, I replied. Looking forward to it. Tom called an hour later. So Sarah told me she signed the papers. Yeah. How do you feel? Relieved, mostly. It's really over. I can move forward. Good. You sound better than you did a few weeks ago. I am better. Still not great, but better. Rachel seems nice, by the way. I'm glad you gave her a chance. Me too. It's different than it was with Sarah. We're taking it slow, getting to know each other. No rush, that's probably smart. After everything. We talked for a while longer about nothing important. His kids, his work, weekend plans. Normal stuff. Life continuing. After we hung up, I pulled out my laptop and opened a document I'd been working on. A journal of sorts, processing everything that had happened. Writing helped, made it feel less overwhelming. I wrote about that night, my last birthday party, the last time I'd been naive enough to believe in the permanence of what Sarah and I had built. I wrote about the moment I saw Jake's hand slip under her dress, the way time had frozen, the way something inside me had simply turned off. I wrote about the next morning, packing while she slept, the calm determination that had carried me through. I wrote about the lawyers and the logistics and the slow, painful untangling of a shared life. And then I wrote about now, about the apartment that was becoming home, about Rachel and the possibility of something new, about learning to trust again, to open up again, to believe that not everyone would betray that trust. It had been a month since my birthday party. A month since I saw my friend's hand slip under my wife's dress. A month since I walked away from everything I'd thought I wanted. And somewhere in that month I'd found something I didn't know I'd lost. Myself. The version of me that existed outside of being Sarah's husband. The person I'd been before and the person I was becoming now, I heard later, through mutual friends who didn't know they should keep such things from me, that Sarah had tried to reconnect with Jake. She'd shown up at his apartment, wanting to talk, wanting to try to make something real out of what they'd had. He'd told her, kindly but firmly, that he couldn't. That every time he looked at her he saw what they'd done to me, that the guilt was too much. She'd moved back to her hometown after the divorce was finalized. Started over somewhere no one knew about her mistakes. I hoped she found peace there. Jake moved too, to another state. Took a job transfer. Before he left, he sent one final text from a new number. I know you'll never forgive me, and you shouldn't. But I need you to know that losing you, losing your friendship, is the biggest regret of my life. I'd give anything to undo that night. I didn't respond. Some things once broken can't be fixed, and some people once lost can't be found again. 6 months after my birthday, I took Rachel to meet my family. Tom's kids loved her immediately. My mom pulled me aside and said, "She makes you smile. Really smile." I haven't seen that in years, and she was right. Rachel did make me smile. Not because she was perfect. No one was perfect, but because she was honest, present, real. With her, I didn't have to wonder or worry or watch for signs of betrayal. We were building something together, openly, without secrets. Sometimes I still thought about that night. The music and laughter, the candles on the cake the moment everything shattered. But the memories held less power now. They were just things that had happened, not things that defined me. I'd learned something in those weeks and months after I walked away. Betrayal tells you more about the betrayer than it does about you. Sarah's choices were about her own weaknesses, her own fears, her own inability to be satisfied with what we had. Jake's choices were about his selfishness, his ego, his willingness to destroy a friendship for temporary pleasure. Their betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of their character, and I'd learned something else. Leaving didn't make me the bad guy. Walking away from people who hurt you isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. It's drawing a line and saying, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't. On the 1-year anniversary of that birthday party, Rachel asked me if I wanted to do anything special. I thought about it, then shook my head. Let's just have a quiet dinner, I said. Just us, no party, no crowd. Something simple. She understood because she always understood. We made dinner together in my apartment. Our apartment now, she'd moved in 3 months before. We ate by candlelight, talked about our days, made plans for the weekend. Simple, domestic, real. As I blew out the candle on the small cake she'd surprised me with, she asked, "Did you make a wish?" I did. What was it? I looked at her across the table, this woman who'd helped me remember what honest love felt like. That I never take the good things for granted again. She reached across the table and took my hand. I think that's a good wish, and it was. Because the worst thing about betrayal isn't the initial pain, it's learning to trust again afterward. It's believing that not everyone will hurt you, that some people will stay, that love doesn't always end in lies. I thought about Sarah sometimes, wondered if she'd found what she was looking for. I thought about Jake, wondered if the guilt still kept him up at night. But mostly, I didn't think about them at all. I thought about Rachel, about the life we were building. I thought about my work, my family, my friends who'd stood by me. I thought about morning coffee and evening walks and all the small moments that made up a life. That night at my birthday party, when I saw what I saw, I could have made a scene. I could have raged and shouted and made sure everyone knew what Sarah and Jake had done. I could have humiliated them publicly, destroyed their reputations, made them pay in every way possible. But I didn't. I walked away with my dignity intact. I let their actions speak for themselves, and in the end, they'd had to live with what they'd done far more than I did, because I moved on. I healed. I found something better, and they were left with nothing but regret and the knowledge of what they'd destroyed. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well,